everybody, welcome back to That Fiction Life. I'm so thrilled to be back. It's been a while since we last spoke, so let me know what you're all reading. What's been your favourite book of the year so far? For me, it's most definitely the book that I'm discussing today, and that's Only a Monster by Vanessa. This is a spoiler-free review. You're free to stay for the whole video. I couldn't have picked a better first review for 2022. I sat down and just hammered through this book in 2 days. Didn't move. Well, I did move to do mundane tasks such as living and sorting out my life. But in terms of doing other fun things, zero. If you've been on my channel before, you know that my whole identity has been trying to find a book told through the villain's point of view. Oh, Vanessa, what have you done to me? Just didn't know what I was getting myself into with this book, or I didn't want to have any preemptive thoughts about it. I knew I was going to read this book anyway because I had heard about the author. So when Hoddis sent me this proof copy, thank you so much for that. I didn't really have a lot to debate. It was going to happen. I just saw the word monsters and sort of morally ambiguous characters. Little did I know that this book is told from the perspective of the monsters. You're not following the hero in this story, you're following the other side. And it's such an interesting concept of how the hero/villain dynamic works. We primarily follow Joan, who goes to stay with her very eccentric family in London for the summer. Her dad has gone to Malaysia for the holidays, and so she decides to stay with her grandma and her family. Joan volunteers at Holland House. It's one of those sort of British heritage sites that is just so aesthetically pleasing, and you do have that dark academia vibe because of it. This book talks a lot about her love of history and very beautiful areas of London that do have that historical aesthetic to it. You're walking up Kensington High Street, and those are places that I've often visited, so it just felt like I was right there in the book. Joan, for all of her life, has been told by her own family members that she is a monster. But that's sort of the extent of it. No one ever explained or elaborated. And one day when Joan is at Holland House with another volunteer, her world gets turned upside down and she discovers that there are secrets her family have been keeping. There are also all these different other families that have different powers. There's time travel involved. And as I was reading it, I was realizing this book was just ticking all of my boxes. It had the villainous, questionable main characters. It was very fast-paced. It had the action. But the way you're thrown into it, it was very unexpected, because from the very first few pages, it's like this. You don't get to breathe for the rest of the book. And that doesn't happen very often, especially with the first book. There's a lot of world building to ease you into the story, and I'm just thinking, when is something going to happen? In this book, it was immediate. Let's talk about the whole villain POV. Vanessa has portrayed Joan in such an interesting way, and it's so rare for a character to kind of say, well, screw the rest of the world, I'm going to go after my own mission here. And if you look at traditional plots, that is usually the goal of the villain. Joan here has a different motive for why she's being a little bit questionable and kind of falling into the stereotype of the monsters and what they're known for. She kind of falls right into it. And you know me, if you've been on my channel before, I always want to hear more about the villains. And it almost felt like with this book, you're being told the story from the other perspective, because then there is this hero in this book trained to hunt these monsters down, but you don't hear from his perspective. For example, the Shadowhunter Chronicles. The Shadowhunters are the ones hunting the demons, and they're protecting humans from all the supernatural beings. Here it's almost reversed, but then you learn more dark secrets and you have to go to all these courts. And this book has so many different elements to it, and it's quite a short book if you look at it, which is one of its biggest selling points because it's so fast paced. You're going on heists, you're looking at how timelines are created. If you're a fan of the Umbrella Academy, you will love this book because it really dives deep into how timelines are created and how timelines themselves work in the background almost to set themselves straight to what is supposed to be the destiny or what the planned events are. The way this magic system is constructed is one of the most unique ever, as the way that these monsters are stealing this power is by taking time from humans. Let's say a particular person was supposed to live until they're 80. If a monster wants to travel 1 year forwards or backwards, they take 1 year off that person, so they will now live 79 years. And that's how it goes. So obviously they're going around taking bits of time from other people, or if you take too big a chunk of time, they'll drop dead right in front of you. They don't see themselves as anything other than the hero of their own stories, and they think that they're just entitled to be going around stealing time from people. There's a magical underworld involved. All these different monster families all have their different powers. They all need some kind of safe area where they can be themselves when they do travel back in time, right? I feel like the story could have gone very wrong, as it could have fallen into the trap of trying to weave in a redemption arc for these monsters, but it sort of goes against that. And then even the heroes, who are supposed to be protecting humanity from the monsters, they have some very questionable things in their past. I really like how Joan's heritage was brought into this story, as this is one of those books where you will really connect with the character's human side and you will understand how she feels. There's some really great discussions about sort of microaggressions from the real world, kind of adapted into more of a magical reality. Can we just quickly talk about the romance? Because it does take a back seat in the story. Trust me, prepare yourself, because I'm having chills just thinking about the ending because it was so traumatic. Laugh through the pain. The final act, it just ramps up the romance in such a way that I didn't expect it to, and it absolutely gutted me. I thought this was just going to be a mystery type of book and we're trying to figure out all the wrongs and alter a timeline, and I didn't expect this book to take such an emotional toll. And I just found this whole concept of enemies to lovers quite unique, because it's not your typical or rude characters having fights or trying to kill each other every 5 seconds. It is so much deeper than this. I know this is technically an enemies to lovers book. It's what Vanessa has been telling readers for the past year. However, you don't know who the enemy is here. That's where it gets very complicated. Both of these people could be considered the enemies slash the villains slash the heroes. Joan herself, even, I wouldn't even say that she's someone who could ever be considered a villain. She's kind of just trying to go after her own goals in a questionable way, and she did frustrate me at times. Then I sat down and thought, what this girl has gone through in the first few chapters of this book would haunt anyone for their whole lives, and so you can understand why she's being so erratic with her choices and why she's all over the place trying to do whatever it takes. Honestly, I love this book. I cannot wait for the sequel, because the way that it left off has I don't even want to look at you right now. No, it's too pretty to throw. Well, there are so many moments where I actually did want to throw the book into the wall, but look how pretty it is. If you've read this book, can you please discuss it with me, because I'm losing my mind. Please leave your thoughts below. What did you think? Who's your favourite character here? Let's talk. Oh, the stakes were so high in this one. I wasn't really expecting it to be so intense, right? Because sometimes the stakes are very high for a character, but here there's so much at stake that you kind of can't just put it in this own little bubble, because it's just going to combust. Those are my thoughts on Only a Monster. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!